Now we go live to Sweden with a first-time guest on our show who watched the game PSG versus Malmo in a historic night, Nima Tavallaey, and he is the founder of Sempre Inter and also works for DiMarzio's site where he does a lot of the English writing on there. Nima, welcome and thank you for staying up in the wee hours of the morning, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me. We're actually driving home, so we hope to be home in like half an hour, 40 minutes. So yeah, it's been a long day.
Outstanding, and have a safe travel home. Let's talk about this historic night. Ibra makes his return to the country he loves so much. He also took some hard-earned money out of his pocket to put, I believe, a big screen, a TV screen in the town center square for people to watch. That is all class by Ibra. Talk about it.
Not only that, he also he paid to have that screen. He actually rented the entire main square of Malmo, his hometown. And what he also did was that they were selling T-shirts at that event, and he released a video at the town square before the match began, where he explained that Malmo is where it all began. That's he was born in, and all the proceeds from every T-shirt sold will go to a mentorship charity that helps young people fulfill their dreams and hopes and aspirations. And just like he put it himself, my story, it started here. Tonight, someone else's story begins as well.
Nima, not much to talk about the game. It was a blowout 5-0, but we expected a PSG with world-class players on their squad to do that. But let's talk about before the game kicked off. Talk about the vibe outside of the stadium, the talk amongst a lot of the people in the cafes and restaurants, the vibe leading up to this historic night. Explain it to us.
It's very difficult to explain because, well, I'll do my best. But the thing with him is that he always does these things, but he seems to kind of time his historic performances or his historic events whenever something else politically is going on in Sweden. His return to Malmo, the city where he grew up, that's something that's been talked about for so long. And where where he said this is kind of like a little bit of closing the circle, where my life began here, everything began here, and I basically, on the last year of his professional career, he gets to finally return when he's at his peak to play against his hometown club. It's so many circles coming together, and also, I remember, for example, when he scored that magical bicycle kick against England in that friendly in the inaugural game of the Friends Arena, the new 55,000-seater in Stockholm. That's the same day when a very racist party had been in a scandal, and today Sweden closes its borders on immigrants and on Muslim immigrants specifically, and Ibra himself is the son of a Muslim and a Catholic immigrant. So it's a very special time in Sweden, and he always manages to kind of time and put himself into a historic context of the story of Sweden in the early 2000s in a way that is just unique.
And a special player. His teammates adore him. His fans love him.
Oh, yeah.
In Italy, he is still loved so much, and they are desiring for him to return. MLS hopefully one day would see him. He's a class act. He goes out there, he gives you all he's got, and he leaves it all out there, and he does it with class, Nima.
Absolutely. And today, when he scored, he said himself he didn't know how he was going to feel when if he scored tonight, if he's going to celebrate or not, but he didn't. He didn't celebrate. He just very quietly, hugged his teammates and it was everything about this. This was so respectful, and it was really a very special moment. Personally, in my lifetime, I'm 35 next year. I can't remember anything like this. Is such a historic night. Sporting-wise in this country, where this is the biggest sports superstar, and also you can talk about a Swedish society before and after Ibrahimović breaks through. And for him to kind of close the circle today is just, it's very emotional. It's a lot of feelings and thoughts going through one's head at this point.
Nima, let's talk about the game a little bit. Obviously, there's not much to talk about because we know what the final score was. It was a blowout. But I looked at this game and I watched a bit of it and some of the highlights that I missed as well. And I say to myself, this could possibly be the year that, PSG could knock on the door and maybe get to the final with a healthy squad. Cavani, Di Maria, Thiago Motta, on and on. A strong Ibra, who knows? What did you see today that might say to you, you know what, Anthony, it's a possibility?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Before the season started, when they signed Di Maria, I was talking to some friends, and I said, I think this is the year that PSG actually goes all the way. Tonight, even against Real Madrid when they lost, they outplayed Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. This is a team that is mature. They have a winner's mentality, and they've just spiced with exactly what they needed to raise them, to give them that extra edge which you need to take that final step. And you have to remember also that, speaking of circles coming close, closing and all that. I mean, this season, the Champions League is played at Ibra's San Siro, the stadium where he dominated with both Milan teams, where he won the Scudetto with both Milan teams, where he became the capocannoniere, the top goal scorer with both Milan teams. So it would be a very poetic finish to his career if he kind of crowned everything by winning the Champions League at the San Siro. But looking footballing wise, I think this is a very mature squad. If you look at all the goals they scored tonight, and not just tonight, also throughout this season, they can score and hurt teams in so many different ways. They're very strong in the air. They're very good in counter-attack. They can play their way through teams who defend deep. They can score with a shot outside the goal. It's a very complete team. It really is. And in a way that they haven't been before.
And a major injury as well, Nima. A guy that we all know that if he comes back healthy, watch out. He's a youngster that has opened up a lot of eyes. Talk about him.
Verratti.
Absolutely.
Oh, Verratti. I mean, he is fantastic. I mean, a lot of people in Italy, they talk about players that have been, that have been touched, the magical touch of the Zdenek Zeman. And no player, I think, in the last 10 years, I mean, Francesco Totti was one of those when he was young, who had Zeman, and they say that after that, his career, he took the next step because of how Zeman helped him develop. Verratti, ever since coming from Pescara, has just been brilliant. He has the vision, the craft, the technique. He has everything. He's a modern, upgraded version of Pirlo without having maybe the magical feet of Pirlo with the 70-yard passes. But Marco Verratti, if you ask me, he's fantastic. And when he comes back, I mean, that midfield today, Thiago Motta, Verratti, Rabiot, Matuidi, I could go on forever. There's so much quality in that team. There's so much quality in that team that they can. I mean, tonight they threw on Lucas Moura for Di Maria, and Lucas scored an absolutely magical free kick. And his pace and his crossing. I mean, PSG really are. They really have so much quality. They really have 22 players of utmost world-class quality. So I really think they can go all the way.
Not only quality, Nima, but they have veteran leadership. A lot of guys that are up in their years that understand what it takes to get to that next level and win it all. There's not much you have to say before a game, at halftime or after a game, whether a win, loss, or draw to these guys. They know what the job at hand is. A lot of these guys have been through it all with a couple youngsters, like you mentioned, Verratti, who are learning from some of the best. So this is why I believe this could be a deadly, deadly opposition if Barcelona, Real, or one of the German teams have to face them.
Yeah, and also you have to look at it this way. I mean, I look at it this way, that not only do they have quality and they know what it takes, they still have the hunger. That's the most important thing, I think, in a team. That irrespective of how good a player good a players you have to have that hunger. This PSG team, they're hungry. You can see that they're not happy. I mean, they've got so many players that have won so much, but they also have a lot of players who are experienced but haven't won so much. I mean, Cavani. If you look away from Ibra and Maxwell, who have like something like 30 to 25 titles each. The rest of them, they don't really have that many titles. Di Maria obviously as well, but the rest of them don't, and they're all in the perfect age. And even the ones that have won so much are still so hungry. I mean, Ibra, look at it. He wants to win at all costs. So no, I think it's a perfect mix of old and new, experience-wise. It's the perfect mix of hunger. I really rate this team. I really do.
Nima, just before we let you go, we really appreciate your time to join us here on Red Card on nextsportstar.com. I want to talk to you a little bit about a former Inter coach, Walter Mazzarri, who has been in the news here in Toronto and in MLS for the last 6-7 days. I know a former assistant of his quite well. He's a very good friend of mine. He's the assistant with the Montreal Impact, Enzo Concina, who sat side by side with Walter at Napoli, and they did wonderful things. Let me ask you, you follow Inter 24/7, you know the club, you know the fans, you know the ownership, you know everything about Inter. Is Walter Mazzarri, if it is true and if it does happen, is Walter Mazzarri the right guy for TFC? Is Walter Mazzarri the guy that can really bring coaching to another level in MLS in your mind?
I think that Walter Mazzarri is a very he's a decent coach in terms of he's the kind of coach that can take a medium-sized club to another level in European top football. But in order to take that, to be able to deliver at a big club, you have to be a good communicator. And Walter Mazzarri barely speaks Italian, let alone English. He's not a good communicator. However, I think that for the MLS, I think he could do really well, because what he would bring to the MLS is organization. To Toronto FC, he'd bring defensive organization. He'd bring a lot of discipline. He wouldn't be the funniest person in the world in pre-games. He's not a very nice guy to interview. He's not a very nice guy. He doesn't like to sell the product that much. And I think that's really important at the MLS. But I mean, in terms of results, I think he could do very well in the MLS because he does have. I mean, he's a classically trained Italian coach, and he knows how to. He can bring the best out of the players. I think at the MLS, I really do. But I also think that he can. He would. I mean, the MLS is a high intensity league, and Toronto. I think he could get them to play intelligently with high intensity, and maybe actually help them to win a title or two.
Nima, but
I really do think that.
The concern that a lot of TFC fans and MLS fans have in general is any coach that has come from Europe or South America has always struggled here in MLS. And no one has had success that's come to MLS from abroad. Nobody. What would Walter Mazzarri have to do to have success here in MLS? Obviously, he'd have to line himself with an assistant coach that knows the league inside out. But would he obviously have to have some players who he knows from the past that he trusts, maybe in that back end, bring in a former Inter defender or a former player that he knows to help him have security back there?
Well, probably, but also I think the reason why I think it actually could go really well this time is because this isn't the MLS is at a different point in its history than it's ever been before. You've got so much; it's got a more international flavor to it, in the sense that you've got players moving over there who are not over the hill, but they're actually, like Jovinko, he's at his peak. So I think that it actually could serve him pretty well. More than maybe Mazzarri being a fantastic coach, I think it's the timing might actually suit him well. But what he would need to do, above all, is communication. He needs to learn English. I think we all read about this. There was a comical news about how Mazzarri was living in England with a family, to learn English, and people quickly dubbed him the au pair coach. But no, I think that if he can learn English and if he can kind of learn to understand that that he's in a different culture and that he needs to be a bit more open and not be like the grumpy school, like a grumpy headmaster from a cartoon, but be more like try to be a bit more positive and in his outreach and outlook to fans and above all spread positivity in the dressing room, then I think he could do really well, because he is very meticulous. He's a professional, and he delivers organization and discipline. He definitely does that, no doubt.
Just before we let you go, you mentioned Giovinco. I want to get your quick thoughts before we let you go on the people back in Italy, their thoughts now on how Giovinco has really taken MLS and North America by storm in the unbelievable season he had. Because I talk to people in Italy every other day, and in years past, they laughed at me and they said, Anthony, this is a vacation league. This is a Liga Pro league. This is garbage,
no,
MLS.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
And I don't agree either. And now I think, talking to a lot of people in Italy, they're starting finally to say, hey, MLS is starting to grow leaps and bounds. I remember talking to Alessandro Nesta a couple years ago here, and he said, watch out for MLS. In a few years' time, people will take it seriously like any other league. You agree?
Absolutely. I mean, although who am I to disagree with Alessandro Nesta, for Christ's sakes? I mean, the man's a legend. No, but speaking, I agree 100%. I think the timing is right for MLS to grow. And it's gotten a foothold with people in North America. Before they struggled, but now it's. I mean, if you look at the attendances, if you look at the interest, if you look at everything, it's a league that's fighting. It's starting to compete with Major League Baseball, and like really starting to gain grounds on those other really big sports in North America. So I definitely think that this is the breakthrough that everyone has been waiting for soccer, as you guys call it over there, for the breakthrough in North America. I definitely don't look at that Liga Pro stuff. I think that's just nonsense, because I mean, I would say that the MLS right now is maybe, if it was in Europe, I think the league would be ranked maybe 12, between 10 to 12 in Europe, but going up, because it's a good league, it's a competitive league, and more players are choosing to go there, and not just to round off their careers.
Nima, the pleasure was all mine. The pleasure was all our listeners and viewers tonight to have you on for the first time. Let's not make it the last time. You're a class act, a true gentleman, for taking time to join us live from Sweden. Thank you so much for talking to us about this historic night, Ibra, PSG, Malmo, and what a night it was for all the fans in that stadium. Nima, thank you so much. As we let you go, where can people follow you on Twitter, and where can they read all the great stuff you're writing for DiMarzio?
Yeah, my Twitter handle is @Nima TAV 1981, and gianlucadimarzio.com/en, their English page, or his English page, is where we were, me, David, Steve Mitchell, and a couple of other new guys who just joined, do all the hard work there, and also at sempreinter.com for all your Inter news, and also FC Inter News, their English page. I just accepted that position, running that. So, yeah, that's where you can get a hold of me. But I got to say thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Safe travels, my friend. God bless, and enjoy the holiday season. We'll talk to you in 2016 about Inter, Champions League, and much, much more. Thanks again, Nima.
Grazie a voi. Have a good night.
Ciao, ciao. Nima Tavallaey, what a class act he is. You can follow him on DiMarzio's English page as well, Sempre Inter. Outstanding analysis he gave us live from Sweden tonight about Ibra, the special night, the historic night, going back to the country he loves so much. A game that was never in doubt for PSG, but a night that was of electricity all night long for Ibra and his teammates.